Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be reviewing and reacting to and reviewing Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 6, The Dive. This is the reaction that I tried to record when, well, if you don't know, my computer broke last week, or it stopped working, so I sent it off to someone to diagnose and repair it because everything I tried to do did not work. While it was away, I tried to use my mum's very old laptop that doesn't work very well to react, because I know in the past I'd had some success, I think, with my old laptop when it used to work. Computers are nightmares. And I intended to react for like 10-15 minutes and then check it, but I got so sucked into the episode that I was an hour in before I was like, fuck. And checking it, it was like every other word and me sort of going, which isn't exactly a good reaction, so that was not usable. So then I just had this week off. My computer, thank God, touch wood, it was just a corrupted, the Windows update was just corrupted, and so he was able to fix it really easily. I had my computer back. I spent yesterday setting it all up again, and today I am here. So there are still around 15 minutes of the episode that I have not watched yet. I'm not gonna watch the first hour and pretend like, oh wow, really? He's at Skull Rock? I'm shocked. I have seen it. But so if you see me looking down for this first bit, I'm just gonna do a quick review. The unedited version of the 15-minute reaction will also be up on my Patreon. I'm just going to do a quick review. I made notes, not hugely in depth, because I really felt like so far this episode was very much putting the pieces in motion for the epic conclusion of part 1, volume 1. Like, I feel like as much as it was a really, really good episode, it was kind of getting the characters where they needed to be for the epicness that I imagine is going to be the volume 1 finale. So luckily it wasn't like the most high stakes episode, although it still freaking was. It's Stranger Things. It wasn't a not high stakes episode. So my first thought was that I really enjoyed the Lucas and Max moment, where, you know, I feel like there is real hope for those two kids to reconnect with each other. And I mean, regardless, I hope they stay super close friends like all these kids should do. But I do think there is real potential for them to get to a new understanding. I think Max is healing. She's beginning the freaking healing process. It is not an easy one or a long one, and I'm still so proud of her. I've actually, a really close friend of mine had watched season 1 of Stranger Things forever ago, like when it first came out, and had just never got around to watching it again. So during my week off, I've actually been Netflix telepartying with her. She's in Canada, and we have been watching all of Stranger Things up until where I'm up to. So I've had like a real refresher of Stranger Things now. I'm like super Stranger Things. But I'm just so proud of Max and how far she's come through, and I really did enjoy that scene, and I think both of them were handling the situation really, really well, given that they are 14, and I just have hope for them. I also really enjoy Robin and Nancy's friendship. I have avoided spoilers like the plague. If I see something Stranger Things related, I zoom past it. I've had it blacklisted since the show came out, but I have seen, like, people ship Nancy and Robin. Well, I actually haven't seen it. My friend was like, people ship Nancy and Robin, and she was like, you know, I get it. But I do just really enjoy the fact that those two are becoming friends. So then, the fact that the gates show up where one of these murders has happened, where Vecna has killed somebody. So that means there is, at the very least, a gate or a crack. I don't know if it's a full-on gate, but it affected compasses like gates in the lake, in the trailer, and in the middle of the road, which I suppose at the moment it just looks like a crack in the road and Vecna hasn't opened it up or whatever he's planning to do. But yeah, that is stressful. I'm not entirely sure how Vecna has managed to continue having an impact through, is it just through the emotions of these kids are so going through it that it's reaching through to the other side, or is it kind of what the Russians were up to? That crack was still slightly opened last season. Did it never fully seal, and so he was able to get his little hands through? Also the vigilantes, Jason, I understand he is grieving, but I still maintain that it is grief amplified by white privilege and male toxic masculinity, and all of that kind of jumped up. Like, he doesn't have any right to go and do this over the police. The police are doing what they can. And for someone that last episode was like, yeah, as if they're spells, and now he's like, yeah, Eddie is possessed by Satan and he cast a spell. I hated the fact that he gave the yearbook picture with all of the kids to the whole town, so this town is now hunting children. I do think there is a lot of an issue with the police forces in America and in the UK. I think there's a lot of systemic racism and just they look out for themselves and corruption. Like, there's a lot of problems with the police, but I still think they are better equipped to deal with a potential satanic serial killer than some high school jocks and the town racists. But so regardless, that was very stressful and quite a frightening scene. It was very unsettling. I think it was particularly unsettling because you could really see it happening. The world we live in right now, the way we are going backwards as a society instead of forwards, it's awful. Also the cops, literally Jason stood up there, this teenage child stood up in the town hall, giving his speech, handing out flyers, and the cops were just like, oh, he's finished, okay, we'll just ignore what he said, there's a curfew. They were so useless. Like, and I think it really drives home how much of a benefit it was in the first 3 seasons having Hopper as chief of police, knowing about the Upside Down, because at this point I'm genuinely concerned. Like, even if, I mean, I'm not even going to try and, I'm blacking out the fact that they've claimed 5 people are going to die or whatever. Like my friend, she doesn't spoil me, but she's like, here's some teasery information. But if assuming we get through this, we close the gates, Vecna is stopped, or at least put in a hold till next season or whatever, everything's back to normal, yay, Eddie's still going to go to prison for serial killer crimes. I suppose the Uber government can come in and be like, stop, it's done. But at the end of the day, I think the public has to leave Hawkins, which again, Hawkins sucks in a lot of ways, it won't be the end of the world. But I do worry about him going forwards because so much of public opinion is already decided. I also had a feeling that, like, this feels to me like for the first time the other parents are getting involved. Maybe the other parents are even going to find out the truth because, I mean, Max's mum, I don't think there's a clue where Max is right now, but for the rest of the Hellfire Club kids, they were at that meeting, the parents, they heard this thing and they were like, my son is in that club. The picture was being passed around with their babies in it. The town's going off to hunt them. Now, I am sure even the hunting down people, the town would be like, those children are small, and then there are also bigger children. I think the older members of the Hellfire Club are at more risk than the kids, but still, that must be such an awful, unsettling feeling. And then there's that part of you that's like, have my kids somehow got involved in the satanic club without my knowing? But also, like, I know my kid, and my kid is a good kid. They aren't going to be doing that. It's interesting because right now, Erica knows everything. Okay, she doesn't know about Vecna, but she knows everything that came before. So is she going to be like, okay, so parents, sit down, here's what happened. But this was the first time I really felt like there was a chance the other parents might find out about the Upside Down. And as much as the Wheelers in particular are quite useless parents, I mean, Karen tries, but they're very useless. I do wonder how they'd feel about the fact that, like, Joyce and Hopper knew about all of this stuff, knew about all the danger their children were in, knew that their children were actively doing this stuff, and never thought to be like, so fellow parents, here's what your kids are up to. I wonder whether there'd be anything there. Again, I'm just speculating purely. And then, what on earth is going on with Baby 11, Jamie Campbell Bower? A lot of stuff is happening in those flashbacks. I am so concerned and so stressed. I'm getting more and more confident that it definitely wasn't Elle. Like, when we first saw the beginning flashback scene where, like, they all get, and she stood there and he's like, what have you done? I was thinking, well, if you torture children with superpowers, they might snap. But I'm getting more confident that something else happened, something to do with Vecna, now that we know Vecna and the Upside Down have been reaching through to our world since way before Elle opened the gate. So it's really, really interesting. I'm excited to see what happens there. I don't understand it all, but I'm pretty sure that Elle speaks quite well at this point, and then by the time we met her, she was essentially non-verbal. So that is quite upsetting. She definitely saw something awful, or had something awful happen to her, and I'm very concerned about it. So that is more or less my thoughts. Obviously we've got the group going out to investigate the lake. Hopper is going to be facing down a Demogorgon. Joyce and Murray have made a deal with Yuri. Like, there's a lot going on, but those are kind of my main thoughts I had of the first episode. And so now I've got about 15 minutes. I've gone back ever so slightly from where I started. I had to reset up my OBS, so I hope that this, like, picture-in-picture is the right size. It's not too small or too big. Let me know if you think it is different than it used to be, or too small or too big. I don't know. And I think the volume should hopefully be okay. So, I was a little bit further on than here. I know that it was still with Elle when they were bullying her. And it just really struck me as human nature of when you're being made to feel small, when you're being abused or put down, how easy it is to lash out and choose somebody else. That doesn't always happen. Elle is the prime example of that not always happening, but the fact that these kids in this place are still being bullies. And I think, sorry, that also makes her reaction to Angela being that violent, because again, if she just punched her or slapped her, I'm against violence, but I'd have understood it. Grabbing the roller skate was a little too high, satisfying from a pure TV point of view, but it was too much. But I think knowing that even as an abused child, she was bullied by the other abused children, it really speaks to all of the trauma inside of Elle that I really hope she gets to learn and grow from. She's an 8-year-old here as well, like she's much smaller than this, because we're seeing our Elle now living through it. Is this the day it all happened? Because again, if it was Elle who snapped, I'd understand. I wouldn't support it necessarily. I'd want her to get help. And she was 7, 8, 6, I don't know. Very small at this point. Fuck off. Sweetheart. Oh gosh. Back to that awful day. Oh, sweetheart. I'm getting more and more confident that you didn't do this. I really am getting more and more confident that this wasn't you. The more they make it look like it was. He has no right to touch her like this. Maybe Dr. Owens, even though I still hate him for putting her in this situation without forewarning her, without giving her all the options and all of the choices, but acting like he was giving her all of the options and the choices. But Papa has no right to be all like, oh, I'm just going to affectionately touch you as I continue to talk to you.
Steve, what are you doing?
Steven. I'm stressed.
It's gotta be me. No complaints, alright?
Steven?
I'm not complaining.
Steven? I mean, Nancy. I see you looking.
Oh, when Steve gets so hairy, right? I keep telling him he needs to tame that jungle, but he's playing thinking.
I just love Dustin and Steve's friendship.
What?
Max. Max. Oh, he's so brave. There's definitely a gate. Up you go now, my darling. Up we go. We do not need to look towards the scary red light. Even though that's what you're doing and you're so brave.
Where are we at, Wheeler? Closing in on a minute? Okay.
Fuck. Fuck. Steve, sweetheart, no. It is a gate. I know you haven't seen a great number of gates, but it is one. No! You know, I enjoyed when I was rewatching Stranger Things with Sarah, and I knew everything that was going to happen. That was a really nice feeling.
Stay with me.
When you're just some kids. You're just some kids. They don't have any reason to arrest you other than that they were in the Hellfire Club. Somebody's gonna grab you! Fucking hell! Fuck no! 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 Fuck! Oh my god. Nancy's not gonna sit by where someone else she cares about gets taken. And I love her for that, but right now, fuck! Oh my god, these brave children, I love them so much and I'm so fracking stressed. Oh, bless you, Eddie. These brave, stupid children, I love them so much and I'm so stressed for them. Steve. Oh my god. You have no weapons? Oh my god, this is awful. Okay, no, Steve, yep, you have an oar. Oh my god, this is awful. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Fucking hell! Nancy, hurry up! One thing I am very glad of is that I did not watch the whole episode over a week ago before I found out that I could not watch more. Because I would have died. Steve. I know there was some interview Sarah told me about where it was like, one of the producers was like, oh, we'd all leave the show if Steve died, so like, it's gonna be okay, right? Okay, so L. I think the fact that they have made it look so much like she killed everybody in this episode tells me that she didn't. I mean, I'm assuming it's Vecna somehow. Maybe Vecna controlled her into doing it. I could see that. But I definitely don't think she was just like, I'm gonna make all these bitches pay. Because even then, she would have killed the kids that bullied her and not everybody else. And also, Jamie Campbell-Bower's character, whose name I can't remember, he was sort of turning Elle away from Papa, which was really interesting to think of someone within the organisation having a different motivation. And then she saw them like torturing him, which was a very interesting turn of events that I don't quite understand yet. So I'm hopeful that Owens is actually going to fucking look out for Elle after he's walked her into this situation. Because yes, I'm sure he has some vague points that Elle probably is our only option to solve what's happening in Hawkins to save people's lives. And Brenna is the person that knows the most about it. But I still don't know why Brenna and Elle had to ever have face-to-face contact. Why Brenna, I mean, I'm presuming Brenna was like, I'll only help you if I get to see 11. It makes me, I'm still kind of like, has Owens been working with Brenna this entire time? But I could see, otherwise surely it would have worked far better from the first place without Elle trying to run away at all. If it had literally just been, Brenna was like, oh well, you know, tell her XYZ, and then he could be like, we found some of your old file from Hawkins' lab and we've learned XYZ. You know, Elle was perfectly compliant when it was just Owens. Putting her back with her abuser is not the right answer in my opinion. Of course, in anyone's opinion, you can see. But I'm very concerned for her having to relive all of these traumatic memories. On top of all the other traumatic memories we already knew she had, it's just utterly heartbreaking. Then Dustin, the cops have him. I presume they have the other two as well. Now, the police will probably want to speak to him because he's in that Hellfire Club picture that Jason's been circulating, so at the very least, they know he's a known associate of Eddie. But they'll also know he's 14. I am stressed in general about all of this because the whole town is kind of turning against these kids who are the kids that have been saving the town for all this time, and it's like, you fucking idiots. Obviously they have no way of knowing that. But really it's hard to be concerned about anything apart from Steven right now. I love Steve. Rewatching Stranger Things has really only reinforced how much I love Steve Henderson. Like, yes, his season 1 behaviour was douchey, but on a rewatch, it wasn't as bad as my memory had made it seem. In my memory, he was like the worst of the worst kind of character who turned around, and I loved him for that, and I loved his journey from season 2 onwards. Rewatching it, I was really like, yeah, like he was a dick, but it wasn't as bad as it could. It wasn't, you know, maybe I'm just comparing it to Billy, but it wasn't that bad. It reinforced the fact that when I first watched it, I was disappointed in season 2 when Nancy and Jonathan got together. It was one of those weird scenarios where I was like happy because I did like them together, but there was a part of me that was also like, Steve and Nancy really do work. So I have no clue what they're doing with that right now. To be honest, at this point, I don't think Steve or Nancy are going to be alive to tell the difference. Jonathan can just get a new girlfriend. I'm stressed. Steve, without hesitation, was like, I'm diving into this lake. It's probably part of why he got in the boat in the first place. All of his like, oh, I don't want to be a babysitter. I think he looked at these people and he was like, I am an excellent swimmer. This is a dive into a pool. Like, I'm the most qualified person to do this. And he didn't even hesitate to put himself in danger. He didn't even hesitate to explore, to look around. And I love him so much. And I'm so fracking stressed. Like, I have to tell myself that he's going to be okay, because he's going to be. But, like, I don't think he's gonna die as a result of this. Hopefully, like, Nancy and then Robin and then Eddie will all run up and kill the creatures with their waterproof guns. I don't know. Something will happen. But, like, he's been, like, strangled and had, like, latched on and stabbed, and, like, the Upside Down does things to people. We saw what it did to Will after season 1. I'm very concerned. I love Steve, and then the way that Nancy just jumped in the minute something happened to him. Nancy was like, I'm not, you know, she still blames herself, which scares me with Vecna, but she still blames herself for what happened to Barb, for the fact that she was not able to get Barb, and that even when Barb was being, like, you know, dragged away, she didn't run after her, she ran away. Now, as a rational person looking at it from the outside, Nancy did not kill Barb. Nancy should not feel any guilt for that. As part of what drove her away from Steve in the first place was, I think, in her mind, their being together was tangled up in what happened to Barb. When really, it was just, you know, she wasn't the best friend to Barb on that night, but she also wasn't the worst friend ever. She was just making a decision for herself and kind of, yes, it sort of insisting that Barb came to the party was kind of a foolish move in the sense that they were never going to be friends with Steve's friends. But anyway, talking about the, but basically, Nancy was not able to do anything to help Barb. She tried after the fact, she tried everything she could to save her, and she was too late. And I think, as we've seen her throughout the rest of the show, being determined that she is never going to let that slide. She's going to try and get justice. She's going to try and fight to make sure it doesn't happen again. And in this case, someone she cares about being dragged away from her again, she's going to jump straight in there and try and help. Robin being like, you know, 2 down. Again, to people she cares about. Steve's her best friend, or at least one of them. She has to go and save him. And then Eddie, I mean, I really respect him for jumping in there, because to an extent there would be a part of me that would be like, I have no skills that are going to assist in this situation. There are 3 of them down there. I'm just going to stay up here in case, you know, someone's got to watch the boat. I wouldn't have faulted him if that had been his mindset. And it wasn't even like he was aware of the cops coming on the shoreline and then was like, well, the only place to go is down. You know, he truly was just like, these people that are risking everything helping me, that I like these people, I've come, even if he wouldn't have necessarily thought he'd have liked them, I do actually really respect him for jumping down. And, you know, I am 100% one of those people that when I'm like, character's going to die this season, right, so that's going to be Eddie Argyle. And I don't say that with any glee or any wish or desire to kill Eddie or Argyle. I actually really, really, really like them as characters. They've just been around for less time, and I'm brutal. For last in, first out. It's the way my brain works. So I'm fucking stressed. I am going to be watching the next one straight away, but it'll be up next week as usual. And yes, thank you so much for being patient with me with this weird reaction. I think the best bit of the episode to react to was the end bit, so at least that was part that I hadn't yet seen. Mad at myself that, so my plan generally last week, it was I was going to watch like 10-15 minutes, stop the recording, check that it was working okay, and then carry on. And then I was watching Stranger Things and I really liked it, and then I was suddenly like, wait, how long has it been? So yes, this was a fantastic episode. I'm fucking stressed. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.